I woke up to a faint noise. At first I thought it was just the wind outside the window, or noise from the next apartment. But when I listened, I realized that the sound was coming from the living room. Someone was talking in a whisper. I got out of bed, trying not to make a sound. I looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m. Who was talking at this hour? I stealthily approached the door and saw the weak light from the phone. My husband. He was standing by the window, pressing the phone to his ear. His posture was tense, and his voice was restrained, cold. I had never heard him speak in such a tone. Everything is ready. My fingers clenched into fists. What is ready? I froze, trying to hear more. She doesn't suspect anything. If all went according to plan, she wouldn't be here by the end of the week. My heart stopped. I felt my legs give out. Who was he talking about? About me? I covered my mouth with my hand, so I wouldn't make a sound. Suddenly he stopped. I heard him slowly turn toward me. Had he noticed me? I took a step back, but the floor creaked under my foot. Fear gripped my body. His breath hitched for a second. Then, I'll call him back. I instantly retreated to the bedroom and lay down, pulling the covers up to my chin. I couldn't breathe. He came back into the room, stopped by the bed. I felt his gaze settle on me. He was checking to see if I was asleep. I tried to breathe evenly, pretending that everything was fine. After a few seconds, he finally lay down next to me. His breathing evened out, but I knew this was the beginning of the horror. I couldn't trust my husband anymore, and I had to find out the truth before it was too late. I lay in the dark, holding my breath. Does he know I heard him? His breathing had become even, relaxed, but I couldn't trust it. Is he pretending to be asleep? Is he really calm because he knows his plan is working? I replayed his words in my head. She doesn't suspect anything. If all goes according to plan, she'll be gone by the end of the week. My body felt cold again. This meant he was up to something terrible. I had to go first. I waited for almost an hour until I was sure his breathing had become deep and rhythmic. He was asleep. This was my chance. I slowly, carefully got up, first rolling onto my side, then removing the blanket and dropping my feet to the floor. Every movement felt dangerous. I sneaked out of the bedroom and headed to the living room. His phone was on the table. I knew the password. It was his birthday. I turned on the screen, entered the numbers. Wrong password. What? Did he change it? I tried our wedding date. No again. I was about to give up when I tried another date. The day his first wife died. Click! The phone unlocked. My heart sank. His secrets were right here. I immediately opened my call log. The last call was an anonymous number. No name, no contact. I opened the message. Empty. He's deleting everything. What is he trying to hide? I opened his banking app. A big transaction. $25,000 was transferred to an unknown account. For what? Who is he paying that money to? I need more evidence. Suddenly, there was a sound of movement in the bedroom. I quickly locked the phone and put it back. At the last second, I managed to sit down on the couch and pretend that I had just come for a drink of water. The bedroom door opened. He was standing in the dark, looking at me. Are you okay, love? I forced myself to smile. Yes. I just couldn't sleep. He came closer. You're not sick, are you? His eyes studied me intently. Was he checking me out? I smiled again. No, just thirsty. He didn't look away for a few more seconds, and then finally said, Go to sleep, it's okay. I went back to bed, but I already knew something was wrong. What was he hiding? And most importantly, what was he planning against me? My skin broke out in a cold sweat as I lay in bed, trying to appear calm. He had been looking at me for far too long. Did he suspect something? His breathing was even, but I could feel his tension. I needed to take it to the next level. I knew there was something in his life that I didn't know about. Something big. His mysterious papers. The next morning he acted as if nothing had happened. He made me coffee, kissed me on the cheek. But when I looked into his eyes, they were empty. He was faking it. I couldn't trust this man anymore. When he left for work, I acted quickly. I opened his closet, checked his suit pockets. Empty. But when I looked up, I saw a black folder. I took it out, feeling my palms sweat. Something inside me told me that there were answers here. I opened the folder, and my heart started pounding. A rental receipt for an apartment. But not ours. A contract for the safe deposit box at a bank opened 2 months ago. Documents in a name I had never heard of. Who was this person? What was my husband hiding from me? I took pictures of all the papers on my phone. And then I found the worst. A document marked confidential. There was a photo of a woman. I thought I had seen her somewhere. My heart jumped as I opened the news on my phone. I knew her. It was Anna Davis. A woman who had been officially missing for a year. A woman who was supposed to be dead. The blood drained from my face. I quickly entered her name into the search. The last mention of her was a year ago. The police had dropped the investigation due to lack of evidence. She had been officially declared dead, but if she was dead, why was her photo in my husband's file? I looked through the receipts again and saw the address of the apartment. I couldn't wait. I quickly grabbed my jacket, keys, and 20 minutes later I was standing in front of her house. It was an elite apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Who owned it? I moved closer, tried to read the list of residents. My heart stopped beating when I saw her name. Anna Davis. Either she's alive, or there's something more terrifying than I could have imagined. I took a deep breath and knocked. Encounter with a ghost. The door opened. I froze. A young woman stood before me. Alive. But she should have been dead. Her eyes widened when she saw me. You. Who are you? I didn't know what to say. I wanted to run away, but I had already gone too far. What's going on here? I stood in front of the door, transfixed by horror. In front of me stood a woman who should have been dead. Her face. I had seen it in the missing persons articles. I had seen it in my husband's file. And now she was alive, standing right in front of me. Who are you? Her voice trembled. I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what to say. Should I have told the truth? Was she in cahoots with him? But I saw the fear in her eyes. She was afraid of me, or of someone else. I just got the wrong apartment. I turned quickly and walked away, feeling my heart pounding like it was going to explode. I heard her close the door before I could stop. She didn't want to speak. She was afraid of someone. I took one last look at the door before getting in the car. What if he had done it before? I couldn't take my eyes off my phone on the way home. I reread the articles about her. Disappeared a year ago. The police suspected a man, but there was no evidence. The case was closed for lack of evidence. And now she lives in an apartment that my husband pays for. Maybe she's not the only one. I started looking for other disappearances. And when I found the results, my body froze. He had done it before. Clara Watson disappeared 3 years ago. Megan Rose disappeared 2 years ago. Anna Davis disappeared a year ago. All the women had had affairs with my husband. And they were all gone. I lived with a monster. My hands were shaking as I pulled into the yard and turned off the engine. I didn't know what to do. I had to find something. Something that could prove he was the killer. I looked at my phone. I knew his files had information about a safe deposit box at the bank. What was he hiding there? If there was evidence of his crimes there, I had to find it. I had to act before he realized I knew everything. I went up to the apartment, trying to stay calm. I opened the door and froze. He was home. He was sitting on the couch, drinking whiskey. There was something new in his eyes, as if he knew I had understood something. I forced myself to smile. You're early today. He raised his glass, looking at me. Yes. I wanted to spend the evening with my wife. His gaze studied me. I swallowed. He was testing me. I did everything I could to not give myself away. But I knew. It was a game. And now it was deadly. I stood in the doorway, trying to control my breathing. He was home. It wasn't part of my plan. I thought I would have time to check his things while he was at work. But he was waiting for me. Why? His eyes studied me calmly. Is something wrong? His voice was soft, but I could sense the hidden meaning in it. He was checking me out. I forced myself to smile. No, I'm just tired. I took off my jacket and went into the kitchen, trying to look casual. I opened the cupboard, took out a wine glass, but my hands were shaking. I knew the truth about him, and I couldn't let him know I knew. Why was she afraid? I thought of Anna Davis. Why did she look so scared? If she ran away from him, why is she still alive? Is it possible that he has her under control? My phone vibrated in my pocket. I took it out, looked at the screen. A known number. I felt my heart beat faster. Is someone calling you? His voice suddenly sounded too close. I turned around. He was standing right behind me. His gaze was attentive, analytical. I pressed reject call. Advertising call. He smiled. Yes, these calls are annoying. But I knew he didn't believe me. I looked at my phone again. A second later, a message came. Please help me. She wants to escape. I felt the world around me stop. It was Anna. Did she find my number? Does she want to run away? Or did he make her write that? Are you okay? My husband asked again. I quickly put the phone away. Yes. I'm just really tired. His gaze grew a little colder. Maybe you should get more rest. It sounded like a warning. I couldn't be careless anymore. I nodded and headed for the bedroom. I closed the door, sat on the bed, and opened the phone. I had to answer her. What happened? Are you in danger? 3 dots, she's typing. I waited, and finally I got a message that made my blood run cold. He's planning something. And you're next. My fingers gripped the phone so tightly that it nearly cracked. I knew it, but now I had the final confirmation. I had to be the first to act. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to find his safe. I knew he kept the most important things there. And if there was evidence there, I had to get it first. But most importantly, I had to get out alive. My heart pounded as I stared at my phone screen. He's planning something. And you're next. The words echoed in my head over and over. I was next. Anna knew something I didn't yet understand. And if she feared him as much as I did, it could only mean one thing. I had very little time left. Why were they all disappearing? I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept returning to Anna and the other women. I opened my phone again and started digging further. When I started looking for information about his past relationships, I almost choked with shock. Clara Watson disappeared 3 years ago after a brief affair. Megan Rose was his colleague. She accidentally drowned in her own pool. Anna Davis, officially dead, but alive. And now me. I knew that all these women had something in common. They were all involved with my husband. But were they all his mistresses? Were they all his victims? I had to find the evidence. I couldn't wait any longer. His safe deposit box at the bank. If there were documents there that could expose him, I had to get them first. I remember the papers I had found earlier. He rented a safe deposit box in a private, locked vault. I knew he went there once a month. And that day was tomorrow. If I could get in there before he did, I would find out the truth. I couldn't even trust myself anymore. When I woke up in the morning, he was already drinking coffee at the table. He looked calm, even content, as if nothing had happened. Did you sleep badly today? I shuddered. He noticed. I was just dreaming. I forced myself to smile. He nodded and took a sip of his coffee. Then rest tonight. We have a lot to talk about tonight. What did that mean? What did he want to talk about? I couldn't wait. As soon as he left for work, I put on my black jacket and sunglasses and headed to the bank. I had to get there first. If there's anything there that would expose him, I'll take it. I'll do anything to avoid being next. I drove to the bank, gripping the steering wheel so hard that my fingers went numb. I had to be there first. This was my only chance to get the evidence before he destroyed it. I knew he wouldn't make any mistakes. He carefully considered every move he made. But this time I would be ahead of him, getting closer to the truth. I pulled into the parking lot around the corner and took a deep breath. The entrance to the bank looked like an ordinary office. But this was no ordinary vault. The most valuable secrets of the most dangerous people were kept here. I approached the receptionist, trying to look confident. Good afternoon. I've come to get access to safe 347. The secretary looked at me over her glasses. Your ID. I held out my passport. His passport. I picked it up this morning while he was showering. She checked the details, smiled, and handed me the key card. Your vault is at the end of the hall. I faked a small smile and moved forward, feeling everything inside tighten with tension. What was he hiding? I found slot 347 and inserted my card into the reader. A small green light lit up. The safe opened. I pulled out a drawer and froze. There was only one thing inside, an envelope with my name on it. My breath hitched. Why? I opened it, and my body went cold. Inside were documents that identified me as a criminal. Forged checks in my name. Fake signatures on bank documents. An email I never had. It was a trap. He had prepared it in advance. If I tried to expose him, the police would get these documents. And then everyone would believe that I was a fraud. He had thought of everything. I almost dropped the envelope. He had already calculated the step. He knew I would come here. Or he knew that one day I would start to suspect him. I understood. I am not just fighting a manipulator. I am fighting a person who never leaves a trace. But this time he miscalculated. Now I know his plan. I know what he is up to. And I know that I am running out of time. I quickly took a photo of the documents on my phone, put everything back in its place, and closed the safe. I left the vault as if nothing had happened. I was walking down the hallway, feeling like I was being watched. I wanted to get to the exit as quickly as possible when my phone vibrated. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. A message from an unknown number. You made a mistake. Now he knows you found out everything. My breath hitched. I looked up and suddenly saw a black car parked on the curb. The silhouette of a man inside. He was waiting for me. I was his target now. He knew I was here. He knew I knew the truth. And now I understood. This is no longer a game. This is survival. My legs went numb when I saw a black car parked in front of the bank. There was a silhouette inside. I couldn't see his face, but I knew. It was him. He was waiting for me. He knows I was here. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. How did he know? Had he known all along? I remembered the message from the unknown number. You made a mistake. Now he knows you found out. Who wrote it? Was someone trying to warn me? Or, on the contrary, scare me? I pretended to be calm, although inside I was already panicking. I couldn't just run out of the bank. It would be obvious. I had to act smart. How do I escape if they're already waiting for you? I went to the reception, pretending to be on the phone. My hand was clutching the bag that held my phone. All the evidence was there. If I left the bank now, he would catch me. I felt a cold sweat break out on my temples. I pretended to speak. Yes, yes. Okay, I'll wait for you now. And then I said loudly enough for the guard to hear. Sorry, honey, wait for me at the entrance. I'll be out now. The guard looked at me. Is your husband meeting you? I smiled. Yes, he's in the red car, right around the corner. I knew they were recording everything on cameras. And if anything happened to me, the police would know I wasn't alone. I thanked the guard and slowly walked towards the exit, an escape he didn't expect. I left the bank and immediately pretended to look for the red car with my eyes. That should have confused him. I took a couple of steps toward the parking lot, but then turned sharply in the opposite direction. I heard the door of the black car slam. He gets out. My heart sank. I ran. I didn't know where exactly. I just ran, trying to blend in with the crowd. I heard quick footsteps behind me. He was following me. I turned toward the shopping center and flew inside. A huge crowd of people. Stores. I dug deep between the counters, trying to get lost. I heard someone moving behind me. And then I took a risky step. I saw a security officer near the elevator. Excuse me, sir. I'm being followed by a strange man. He just got out of a black car near the bank. The security guard turned his head sharply. Where is he? I looked into the crowd, and I saw him. My husband was standing in the aisle between the stores, looking straight at me. He realized that I was escaping his trap. He smiled slowly, and then he took a step back into the crowd and disappeared. I was breathing heavily, feeling like I couldn't stand it anymore. The security guard looked at me suspiciously. Are you sure you didn't think it was him? I took a step back. Yeah, maybe it was just someone who looked like him. I knew he wouldn't leave me that easily. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning of the real war. Now I have to strike first. I quickly left the mall and hailed a cab. The only place I could go was Anna Davis. She knew more than I did, and now we were both in danger. I dialed her number. She answered immediately. I knew you would call. Her voice sounded like she had been waiting for this moment. We have to meet. Right now. She exhaled. Okay, but you have to know. Pause. And then she said something that made me shiver. I know where he hides his real evidence. I held my breath. What do you mean? Her voice broke into a whisper. He has another safe deposit box. Not in a bank. In his house. I felt my heart stop beating. This was the last secret. The last hidden piece of evidence. If I find it, I can destroy it. But first, I must survive. The taxi sped through the narrow streets of the city, and I clutched the phone in my hands, trying to force myself to breathe evenly. Anna knew the truth. She knew about his secret safe in the house. That meant he knew about her, too. And if I rushed to her now, then maybe. I'm leading him straight to her hideout. Whoever survives gets everything. I called Anna again. I'm almost there. Are you sure he's not looking for you? Her voice was broken, scared. I hadn't left my apartment in weeks. But I know he's watching me. I felt a cold sweat run down my back. How did you know about the safe? I saw him hide something there. At night. I thought I was asleep. I took a deep breath. He's so confident in himself that he didn't even hide his actions. But the question was different. What exactly was he hiding there? Meeting the surviving victim. The taxi stopped outside an old house with dark windows. I looked around. No black car. No suspicious figures. But I couldn't trust the silence. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor and knocked. The door opened immediately. Anna looked pale, thin, with dark circles under her eyes. "You're here," she whispered. I went in, and she immediately locked the door with several locks. "You've been hiding from him all these months." She nodded, curled up on the couch as if she were afraid to even move. "I thought he was going to kill me." My fingers clenched into a fist. "If we do it right now, he won't be able to hurt anyone else." Anna looked up at me. "But do you understand the risk? If he finds out we're together, he'll destroy us both." I knew it. I felt like I was playing with fire, but it was too late to back down now. How could I get into his secret? I took out my phone and opened the pictures of his bank safe. He had everything under control. He prepared the documents to frame me. But there's something else in his house. Do you know where it is? Anna held her breath. I saw him go into the closet under the stairs. He always locked the door. Under the stairs. I remembered how he wouldn't let me clean there. He always said it was just old boxes. But now I knew the truth. There's his last secret. His payback is near. I got up from the couch, feeling the fear in my chest turn to anger. I need to get into that house. Anna's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? He knows you're suspicious. He's watching you." I turned to her. "You've lived in fear for a year. I've lived in a lie. And now I have a chance to end it." Anna shook her head. "It's suicide." I took her hand. "I'm not afraid of him." Anna looked at me again. "But you should be afraid. He's dangerous. And he doesn't forgive mistakes." I knew that. But I also knew something else. He should be afraid of me. The last trap. I took out my phone and wrote a message. To him. "Alex, I need to talk. It's urgent. Meet me at home at 9 p.m. If he comes, I will find the safe. And I will find everything that will help destroy it. The end game has begun." I stood by the window of Anna's apartment, looking out over the dark streets below. 9 p.m. He would be home in 5 minutes. And then I would only have a few minutes to find the safe. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Anna asked quietly. I turned around. She was sitting with her hands clasped around her knees, her eyes full of fear. "I don't just want to. I have to," I said. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was angry. I had been living a lie. I loved a man who could have been a murderer. And now I had a chance to prove it. Anna watched me silently as I put on my dark jacket. "If anything goes wrong," her voice trailed off. I took her hand. "He won't get away with it this time." Breaking into his house. I was riding in a taxi, my phone clutched in my hand. Alex's text message came a few minutes after mine. "Okay, I'll be home on time. But be prepared for a serious conversation." I was ready. I was ready for anything. The taxi pulled up a few blocks from our house. I didn't want him to notice the car parked in front of the entrance. I got out and walked, avoiding the streetlights. As I approached the house, I suddenly realized. The door was open. My heart sank. I went inside. Darkness. Silence. He hadn't returned yet. I closed the door behind me and quickly moved to the closet under the stairs. I had to find the safe first. The secret behind the closed door. I knelt down in front of the closet door and pulled the handle. Closed. Damn. I felt for the door. The key wasn't there. Maybe. I tore open the top drawer of his living room desk. There, among the old papers and stationery, was a small black key. I grabbed it and went back to the closet. The key came. I opened the door and felt for the switch. The light glowed a faint yellow. And then I saw it. The safe. Dark gray, massive. Locked with a combination lock. How could I crack a safe in a few minutes? I had very little time left. I knew he had favorite dates. I entered the date of our wedding. Error. His birthday. Error. I tried not to panic. I knew he always went back to one moment in his life. I typed in the date of his first wife's death. Click. The safe opened. His last secret. I opened the door and froze. Inside were several folders, one hard drive, and a small black flash drive. I quickly started flipping through the papers. And then I saw their names. Clara Watson, Megan Rose, Anna Davis, his victims. They were reports, letters, documents. Everything that proved he had lured them, controlled them, and maybe even killed them. My fingers trembled as I pulled out the flash drive. If there are videos, recordings, more evidence, this is my chance to destroy him. I stuffed everything into my bag and was about to close the safe when... He's here. The door to the house closed. I heard his footsteps in the hallway. My heart stopped. I quickly turned off the light and pressed myself against the wall in the closet. Love! His voice sounded right above my head. I held my breath. Did he suspect something? I heard him take off his coat, walk across the living room. I had to find a way out. If he found me here, I might not get out alive. I grabbed the metal flashlight lying in the closet and squeezed it in my hands. If he opened the door, I would strike first. The end game had begun. He walked to the stairs. He stopped. I could see his shadow through the crack in the door. His fingers touched the handle of the closet. He slowly turned it. The handle of the closet door slowly turned. He opens it. I gripped the flashlight so tightly that my fingers went numb. If he finds me here, if he sees the safe open, I might not get out of here alive. I held my breath, my heart pounding in my chest. But suddenly, he stopped. I heard him exhale and release the handle. Nonsense, he muttered under his breath. I heard him walk away. As he moved toward the kitchen, as he opened the refrigerator, I wanted to cry with relief, but it was too early to rejoice. I had to get out of here. Escape or new risk. I waited. A few seconds. A few minutes. When I was sure he was busy, I slowly opened the door and slipped out of the closet. My legs were like cotton wool. I had to leave without leaving a trace. I slid down the hallway, heading for the exit. A little more. A few more steps. I reached the door. I reached the lock. And then, where are you going in such a hurry? I froze. His trap. His voice was calm. Too calm. I slowly turned my head. He was standing at the bar, holding a glass of whiskey in his hand. His eyes were cold. He was looking straight at me. Is something wrong, my love? I forced myself to make a surprised expression on my face. I just decided to take a walk. His lips twitched in a slight smile. At 10 p.m., I swallowed. He knows. He knows I didn't just go for a walk. You're nervous, he said, looking at me intently. I took a step back. I'm just tired. He set the glass on the table and walked toward me. My pulse began to race. You've been acting strangely these past few days, Alice. He stopped in front of me. Maybe you want to tell me something? I felt fear tighten my throat again. But this time I was ready. I knew what to do. I took a step back and whispered, Maybe you want to tell me something, Alex? He tensed. What do you mean? I took out my phone. Like the safe in the closet, the files with the names of the women who disappeared. His eyes lit up. I knew it was a blow to the heart. He was always in control. But not now. Now I was in control. I picked up the phone. And if I press send, the police will have all this evidence. One last chance to destroy him. He took a step forward, his breathing becoming heavier. You're playing a dangerous game, my love. I didn't blink. You too, Alex. Only you've already lost. He clenched his jaw. And what are you going to do now? I smiled. Watch the news tomorrow. You'll like the finale. He didn't have time to react when I suddenly opened the door and rushed out of the house. I ran as fast as I could. I didn't know if he would run after me. I didn't know if this was his last trap. But I knew one thing. This was the end of him. And tomorrow everyone would know the truth. I ran down the dark street, gripping my phone so tightly that my fingers went numb. I survived. I escaped his trap. But this wasn't the end. I had to finish him off. I hailed a taxi, looking over my shoulder. Would he run after me? Was he already preparing his next move? But when I turned around, I saw him standing in the doorway of the house. He wasn't trying to catch up with me. He was just watching. And he knew it was the end. Revealing the truth. My taxi stopped outside the office of a major news portal. I couldn't trust the police. I knew he could bribe anyone. But once the story got into the media, there was nothing more he could do. I ran out of the car and up the stairs. I was met by the journalist I had messaged. Are you ready to tell your story? I looked her in the eye. Yes, but not just mine. I handed her the flash drive. Here are the names of all his victims. There were more than I thought. She took it, and I saw her face change as she looked through the files. Oh my God, this is a huge revelation. I know. I was breathing heavily. You have to publish this as soon as possible. Otherwise, he will find a way out. She nodded and said only one thing. You just destroyed him. His downfall. The next morning, the news exploded. On all channels. Revelation. Successful businessman revealed to be a manipulator and possibly a serial killer. Photos of missing women. Photo evidence. His story was revealed to the world. His arrest. I watched the live broadcast. The cameras captured the police storming his house. I held my breath as they led him out in handcuffs. His face was pale. His confidence was gone. I saw fear. The police put him in the car. He looked around. And for the first time in all these years, I had won. Her victory. I stepped outside, breathing in fresh air. The world was no longer a prison. I was no longer a victim. I was the one who had destroyed the monster. I closed my eyes and whispered, "This is the end." But I knew it wasn't just the end. This is a new beginning. I will never let anyone control me again. I am free.